Okay, we're getting into new territory with this one. Before I started this video series, my interest with FNaF died when Crying Kid did. So I never really played FNaF World until now. But besides the usual boring stuff that's also in every other turn-based RPG, I actually had a pretty good time with this game, including beating the Kaizo platformer in under 3 minutes.
Okay, children, what do you think Barnaby Jones meant when he said this is not a victimless crime? Anybody?
Bruh.
Unfortunately for me though, this game not only has multiple endings, but juggles an in-universe narrative alongside a meta one, which in hindsight is just a terrible choice for everyone involved. I see now why Scott regrets making this game canon. I doubt it was because of the actual content, but instead in the way he chose to arrange it. Case in point, to get the baby teaser that matters in the universe of FNaF itself, which, by the way, also rolls the credits, you've gotta beat Chica's Rainbow, the boss. Then there's Glitch Bear referencing a puppet master for most of this game, which foreshadows Scott Cawthon himself, the boss. And that's the big struggle with this game, right? Especially since it came out right after the superficial enigma that is FNaF 4. For every piece of in-universe lore, you've got to unwind a knot of meta-narration first. But is the lore even worth it, and does it answer any of the lingering questions we may have had from FNaF 4? Well, there's only one way to find out.
Our minds are one.
So let's bow in and try to put all the pieces of FNaF World back in place. Uniquely, when you boot up the game for the first time, you get hit with some glowing eyes in the darkness, which sets up the mystery for us to solve in this game.
Everything that happens out there has an effect here. Do you understand? This is a safe place. This is a sanctuary. But something has gone wrong, and now it can be seen here. Something went very wrong. That's why I'm here. But I won't let the same happen to you. I will put you back together.
Bro, I haven't even seen the title screen yet, and the game is already throwing mystery boxes at me. Also, thank you to Cosmic Star for providing the voice of Glitch Bear in this video. It was an absolute pleasure working with you, homie. So, we gotta try to answer 3 questions that the eyes have set up. Number 1, what has gone wrong that is causing issues in the safe place? Number 2, who is the one speaking to us with glowing eyes? And C, who are we and why are we getting put back together? Well, to figure that out, we've got to pick our difficulty and get the first cutscene started. Fredbear here tells us that there is something going wrong with this world, and it's because something bad has happened on the flip side. But if we wait on this final dialogue box, the screen changes and Glitch Bear shows up to tell us that we have to leave breadcrumbs for a mysterious him to find his way. And it was at this point in my video series where I became completely fed up with the pronoun game. In fact, I'm throwing all the preamble out of here. I'm gonna try and solve this game starting right now. I know I'm skipping the gameplay breakdown, but it's just a simple RPG, and the game is so meta that it's really easier just to skip to trying to solve the lore. Shoutouts to this commenter here, Kenichi1, who pointed out that Big Scott said everything we needed to solve FNaF 4 was in the game. So you know what, I like to challenge, I'm gonna give this another shot. So, Glitch Bear's identity is ideally the same as Plush Bear from FNaF 4, right? However, we still have yet to figure out who that might be, and I think the trick to that answer rests in figuring out who it's not first. And my first candidate is the purple guy. And admittedly, I'm getting a little bit anachronistic here. But in FNaF 4, you could make an educated guess that the Crying Kid and Foxy Bro were the spawn of Purple Guy based on this Easter egg. So, let's humor it. What's the evidence to support this? Well, the problem is, there isn't any. Yet. The case for Purple Guy as the voice of Plush Bear really only grows legs in Sister Location. So even if Purple Guy was meant to be the father of the FNaF 4 bros, I don't think there's quite enough support yet to believe he is also the voice of the plush. Especially since the goal of FNaF World itself is directly tied into Happiest Day, which runs completely against the antagonist of the series. The next choice is the puppet. The evidence for this is that the puppet is the only character we know of so far that can give life. It's also the only one that you can make a vague case for being killed before the other kids, since they're usually seen as a collective set of deaths. The issue though is that the puppet just isn't around in the game of FNaF 4 itself. But the bigger problem I have with this answer is one of the first things that Glitch Bear says in FNaF World.
This is a safe place, a sanctuary. The truth is that there is no safe place. You don't understand that. You were made for one thing.
Homie is directly telling us that whatever role we play as in FNaF World, we're not only incapable of understanding that there is no safe place, but that we're designed for one purpose. And this bit right here is what complicates things so much and why this script has been such a pain in the ass to put together. I'm trying not to take another L on this video, but to come away with a win, we've got to start slotting identities into pronouns. Plush Bear / Glitch Bear needs to be a character itself. It can't be Purple Guy because despite the snark and general attitude, it's not antagonistic towards the player or the kids. The goal of Plush Bear is to help put somebody back together and get us to leave breadcrumbs for a certain someone. Then we have our main character itself, who has to be, for lack of a better word, a good guy. But also can't exactly be something with full-on sentience because, as Glitch Bear says,
you don't understand that. You were made for one thing.
But almost as if on cue, the answer came to me when I unlocked the marionette. Look at this text. Think outside the box. That's when it hit me. Glitch Bear is talking to the game itself, not the player of the game. Which means that despite my trash talking earlier, at the time of this game's release, the puppet is the most likely candidate for the identity of Glitch Bear. And the game itself, whether it was created with purpose or has been altered due to being haunted, is to help put the pieces in place for C². But then, who is playing the game? And what is the game itself beyond the meta-narrative? And don't you worry, we're gonna tackle those questions right now. FNaF World has an undeniable meta throughline that runs across the whole game, making numerous references to cut characters, content, and the franchise as a whole. That much is undebatable, and it's really best just to leave it at that. The funny thing is, though, the game alludes to itself falling apart. There are constant references to something happening on the flip side and causing trouble in the game world. I think the simplest connection is that the meta story is a byproduct of how messed up the in-universe events of Five Nights at Freddy's are. Or, to put it another way, the MCI event, the puppet's possession, all of that is causing the game itself to break down and turn meta due to being haunted. Oh, and for kicks and giggles, I think FNaF World is probably an in-universe Fredbear and Friends game adaptation that devolved into what we experience after getting haunted or possessed or whatever. And I hear you, it's okay if you're not subscribed to that idea. It's such a big stretch that I'm straight up teabagging the floor at this point. So now, let's get some relief and cover who is playing the game itself, which is a lot less of a leap in logic. But to find that answer, we've got to go over the biggest lore connection in World, and that is undoubtedly the path towards unlocking the clock ending. Glitch Bear here tasks us with finding these clocks throughout the games, and upon unlocking all of them, we are treated to this ending.
We are still your friends. Do you believe that? The pieces are in place for you. All you have to do is find them. Rest.
Which also earns us the Crying Child trophy. But simply grabbing the clocks isn't enough to get the ending. You've also got to solve a quick minigame every time. However, if you pay attention, you'll notice that each of these correlates to a minigame from FNaF 3 in some way. Based on this context, I think it's safe to assume that this is all actively setting the pieces up for Happiest Day in FNaF 3. But the question now is this. Is FNaF 3's HD for the Golden Freddy Kid, or for the Crying Child in 4? And that's where it gets tricky, because I believe that this is all set up for the Crying Kid's Happiest Day, and not the MCI kid that possesses Yellow Bear. Here's why. My Discord homies Cosmic Star and Arelious hopped on a little chat with me just to give their insights on FNaF World, and this is when the two of them pointed out a little tidbit of knowledge that I completely missed in my video.
There's a lot of comparisons between the FNaF 3 minigames to the FNaF 4 minigames. BB's Air Adventure, the Balloon Boy in that minigame, and the Balloon Child in the FNaF 4 minigames have basically the same design. The Mangle's Quest minigame has Mangle in a house. Mangle is in the Crying Child's house for seemingly no reason. The next minigame was, Chica's Party World. Features Toy Chica, and again, the tiny Toy Chica missing its beak that Scott specifically decided to call out in the live stream with like map pen stuff, yeah, you can see it down there.
Taking that information, FNaF 4 becomes really interesting, because what do we see in FNaF 4? We see the crying child's older brother wear a Foxy mask and shove him into the mouth of Fredbear. Maybe the crying child's memories were broken up and scattered among the MCI children, the memories that eventually led to what killed him.
Now, if we go back to the golden rule of sequential storytelling, the next entry in a series tends to elaborate on or explain previous setups and mysteries from the prior piece. FNaF 3 gave us the happiest day, but FNaF 4 apparently gave us the true target for the event itself, as evidenced through the masked bullies and Arelious and Cosmic's points. From here, we move into FNaF World, where Glitchbear is able to tell the crying child this.
The pieces are in place for you. All you have to do is find them.
Now here's where it gets cool. The actual player of the game itself is most likely one of two characters, and the answer lies with Old Man Consequences. As I'm sure many of you know, heading one too many layers deep in this final glitch zone puts you at Old Man Consequences Pond. And I know that there's a lot more to this guy than in FNaF World, but I'm gonna have to ask you to wait until I get to UCN to readdress all of this, okay? Anywho, if you talk to him here, then it locks up your game and you have to reset. But if you ignore this, whatever the hell he is, and have a little wiggle above the lake, you're able to shimmy yourself deeper and deeper till you fall for like 2 minutes straight, and then end up at this screen with the words happiest day conveniently cropped out. I know some people see an angel at a rave, but I'm fairly certain this is supposed to be 3 people hanging out and watching some TV. And while the identity of one of these characters is definitely open to debate, I'm not sure how you could argue against Foxy Bro and Crying Kid filling in for the other 2 spots. Now, what does this mean for the FNaF World protagonist? Well, based on the evidence available at the time of release, I believe that FNaF World itself is being played by one of the 2 brothers. The evidence for Foxy Bro is that he's the only character we see interacting with video games, which admittedly is pretty weak evidence. Also, his love of watching TV hasn't been established yet. So personally, I think it's the Crying Kid who's taking the controls here. My biggest support for this is that not only does the Pond Happiest Day really fit for his character, but the items we collect for the ending are clocks. Clocks are more than just symbols for the passage of time and the fleeting nature of life. They're also iconography for memories attached to those moments. And I don't think it's a stretch to think we're collecting these to change an event, whether that's a memory or something more tangible. Which means that the Crying Kid is ultimately setting up breadcrumbs for his older brother so that he's able to put into place FNaF 3's happiest day, and finally help the children move on. Now obviously there's some problems here, because it functionally removes Golden Freddy Kid from the FNaF 3 happiest day ending. The other question is, who the hell is Deskman? Well, this might be a hot take, but based on the character's dialogue, I've always thought this was another avatar for Scott Cawthon. The phrasing that the character uses really feels like an author giving into the whims of his fanbase and continuing a franchise he may have waning interest in. Then when we come back to visit him after beating the rainbow in Update 2, we see the Desk Man die and then hear the voice of Baby, setting up sister location to be released soon, and low-key showing Scott giving in to the call to make more FNaF. But more on that in the next video. For now, it's finally time to lay all of these points out in a nice little breakdown. After the death of the Crying Child in FNaF 4, the game of FNaF World itself is altered by the puppets for the purpose of leaving breadcrumbs for the happiest day event. The game is then piloted by either Foxy Bro or the Crying Kid, who, after finding all of the clocks, allows the happiest day from FNaF 3 to occur and lets the MCI kids move on, as well as the Crying Kid, leading to a happy reunion with their family. As for the meta elements, Fredbear himself says that something bad must have happened on the flip side, aka the real world of FNaF, and as a result things have become more twisted and meta-driven, leading to a confrontation with the creator himself, Scott Cawthon. After his defeat, Scott waxes on the consequences of having a major franchise, and all of this culminates in a tease for something terrible on its way. Sister location. Now I'm gonna be completely honest with you, this one was really difficult to put together using only context from the game itself. So if it sounds a little out there or feels like complete nonsense, then I don't blame you. Nor do I disagree. This was ridiculous. And I didn't even mention the map lining up to look like a brain. Mainly because I wanted to see how many people wouldn't finish the video before commenting that, so let me know if I tricked you in the comments. But I also didn't bring it up because there wasn't a good place to talk about it, nor does it feel like it really connects to much of anything except for the bite victim. I mean, what are you trying to say, Scott? Is this game supposed to be Crying Kid's Brain? Anywho, thankfully, Sister Location is a massive step forward in clarity, and this will allow me to piece together way more of the franchise in a much more coherent and less shark-jumpy way. So, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I want to give another huge shout out to Arelious for hopping on Discord to chat about this, and an even bigger shout out to Cosmic Star for helping me discuss the game and providing the voice work for Glitchbear.
She dusting on my field until I find her clocks.
It was an absolute blast working with you guys on this video, and I'm hoping to continue to expand my guest star roster as I near the big finale video this summer. If you feel like joining the discussion, or want to hit me up for a collaboration, I am always down, and you can either check out the Discord link and send me a DM there, or feel free to send me an email. Either way, that's all I've got for you now, so until next time, I'm bowing out, and I'll see you all in the scooping room. Man, I am so sorry that this took so long to come out. The week this was supposed to release, I actually got booked on 2 projects back to back. The first was I got to play the Green Power Ranger in this little short film, and the very next day I got booked to be a stunt coordinator and actor on this Cash and Maverick music video. And when that releases, I'll be doing a follow-up collaboration with them on my martial art channel. And then the week right after that, me and the brothers here in Texas all flew down to the brother in Florida's wedding. And then we come back to Texas, and I've got more stuff to film and more things to shoot, and it's just been a complete mess. But hopefully I'll be back on track, and I'll be set to premiere my video game sometime later this year. But hey, if you're still here this deep into the video, thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you're enjoying all this behind-the-scenes stuff. Here's one last clip of that Discord call between me, Arelious, and Cosmic.
Like, either you think he's a great storyteller or you think he's a bad storyteller. And I've seen so many people say both at the same time. And I'm just like, he's just a storyteller.
Yes!
Like, whether he's good or bad is up to whether or not you enjoy the story. But, like...
Right,
like,
but the other thing, too, good or bad, even at the same time, but with zero nuance. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They are simultaneous black and white. They're a fucking zebra. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally black and white at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's...
Oh, that was hilarious.
I mean...
I might use it for a bit.
Go for it, dude. But, like, that's the...
zebra.